Hey y'all, spooky season is here. And if you're looking for a show to whet your appetite for a little haunted history, then I'd like to invite you to check out Southern Gothic, a chart-topping history podcast that explores some of the most infamous legends, folklore, ghost stories, and hauntings of the American South. We've covered all sorts of stuff from the Bell Witch of Tennessee to the disappearance of the Confederate submarine, the H.L. Hunley. Not to mention our deep dives into the local lore of some of America's oldest and most haunted cities, like New Orleans, Charleston, and St. Augustine. So, if you're ready for a little good old-fashioned Halloween storytelling with a commitment to quality historical research, then be sure to check out Southern Gothic today. It's available now on all your favorite podcast apps.
Hello, everybody. Brenna here.
And I'm Gabby.
And this is the Mystery of Everything podcast. Woo! If you hear a little meow meow, it's my sweet little Lil. And she will not let me kick her out of the room because then she claws under the door. So just think of it as like a little ASMR vibe, a little something extra for your day to get your day started. Let's start it off. Let's do this. It is I, Brenna. This is a Brenna-centered episode. And if I sound funny, it's because I have a sinus infection. I'm suffering a little bit. You know, I haven't been sick in so long, though. Well, I say that and I feel sick all the time. I don't know. I don't remember having a respiratory infection going on in a long time, but I'm vibing. I've been taking Dayquil, emergency liquid IV, vitamin D, vitamin B12, vitamin C gummies. So you name it, I've been taking it.
Did you just go to the pharmacy and ask them for everything?
No, I already had all of that because I'm very deficient. I just don't take my vitamins. Well, I do now. I am right now because I don't feel good. I should take them all the time. My hair might grow back if I do that. We'll do it. Anyways, my voice sounds cool. I have like a raspy thing going on, like a little Miley Cyrus a little bit. Yeah. Like I smoke a pack a day. I feel like it's ASMR centric. You all might like it. You might not. Anywho, today, whenever you're listening to this episode, we're going to talk about something that makes me extremely uncomfortable and that I just really don't like. It doesn't sit well with me. And quite frankly, it keeps me up at night. And that is that some animals just straight up don't have a brain.
I like that, though. That must be so peaceful for them. Like, imagine it. They don't have any stupid little thoughts. They're just floating, vibing, enjoying the sun on their faces that they really don't know much about.
And the majority of them are chilling in the ocean. So just enjoying or are they even enjoying it? Like, can they even enjoy it?
They have neurons.
But does neurons equal emotions?
Well, it tells them about the world around them. They probably can't process like what it means, but they know what's up. They know what's up.
I don't know. Gab told me about this. Apparently, it's like a very known thing. I've been out of the loop. And then what did you text me that like really bugged me? At first, I was like, I don't like the jellyfish don't have brains. And then you're like, well, you're really not going to like this.
Well, they're not aware that they exist
yeah,
fully,
you told me they're not self-aware, and I was like, well, that's, just rip my fucking heart out, please.
I'm sorry. But they don't know, so it doesn't hurt them.
That's true. Ignorance is bliss. Yep. Anyways, yeah, we're going to talk about that some animals don't have a brain. Tin Man style, except more sad and slightly cooler. Sorry. The species that brought this to my attention was fucking jellyfish. And when I tell you this really bugs me, I mean it bugs me to the fullest extent. So not only do jellyfish not have a brain, as if that's not creepy enough, but they also don't have hearts. I hate it here. So jellyfish are a type of zooplankton, translation meaning animal zoon and wanderer planktos. Those little guys are just floating around, not knowing what's what, and it makes me very sad. Zooplankton spend their days floating along in the water, being microscopic little guys, with the exception of a few large guys like our friends, the jellies. So with jellyfish, they fall in the same boat or phylum as coral and sea anemones. These guys are ancient. Evolutionary speaking, they are quite old. Jellyfish have been around for just a measly little 500 million years. So because these guys are so old, their bodies don't have organs like what we would consider more recently evolved species. I have a picture of said 500 million year old jellyfish. Well, I guess the fossil of 500 million year old jellyfish.
It looks like a splat. Like, think of some slime and then you make it go splat.
Or like, to me, it looks like someone dropped a water balloon from up high and then removed the plastic balloon part, but that's just like the water, where the water made a little circle.
They dropped a milkshake, right? And then
Yeah.
it splattered everywhere.
Perfectly circular, though. They had a milkshake inside a water balloon, dropped it.
Yes, that's the ticket.
Perfectly circular. So yeah, jellyfish are fucking old. I wonder if like, I know we don't have any proof or anything, but have you seen El Dorado?
No.
Joya will love it. Will you? Steve's probably seen it. Will you watch it with Joya, please? It's a cartoon.
Yeah.
Man, it's so good. But my little child brain always loved animals, and the animals in El Dorado are just fucking massive. Like, they ride around on these turtles' backs as like boats and stuff, and then giant fish. It's the lost city, not lost city of Atlantis. It's like a city of gold. And these two guys from Spain pretend to be gods and like get worshipped. It's very funny. Stars can't do it, not aligned. I'm going to start saying that when I don't want to do shit. I'm going to be like, oh no, the stars, not aligned, can't do it. Anyways, 500 million years ago. Sorry, I got on that subject because I was like, what if there were jellyfish that were that big 500 million years ago? But I suppose we would have seen proof by now. Jellyfish are essentially 95% water. They are simple beings, but we do not think they are sentient beings. They have a very developed nervous system, but they are not self-aware, sadly. Let's list some jellyfish facts to help us, me, understand how they can do things without a brain. Some jellyfish, like the moon jellyfish, Aurelia aurita, have a structure called ropalia. And this ropalia is located at the end of the bell or hood of a jellyfish. I have a picture illustration to help us, me, all along in this journey. So the ropalia have a small area of pigment that has these light sensitive cells to help the jellyfish sense light and move. Who needs, like eyes and ears and a brain when you've got ropalia by your side? Am I right? Jellyfish have, yeah, Gab knows. Gab sees it. Oh, and here's the little parts of a jellyfish. You got the bell, which I like to think of as their hat. And then the ropalia there, the arrow's pointing. I'll upload this for you guys and gals. Oh, yeah. Jellyfish have 4 of these ropalia. Side note, the box jellyfish, which I will be talking about in just a second, does have eyes. 6 eye clusters, actually, with 4 eyes in each cluster. 2 of the 4 eyes are super complex and have actual lenses, while the other 2 have pigment to sense light around them. I don't know if you all can do math, but that's a shit ton of eyes.
All those eyes and no brain.
All those eyes and no brain. Shame. The neurons of jellyfish are spread throughout their body instead of in one area like we have in our brains. So these neurons in jellyfish resemble a sort of net. So, of course, it's called the nerve net. Makes sense. I like it. So this nerve net serves in place of sensory organs. These nerves can detect things like touch, temperature, gravity, and salinity, and the jellyfish will react accordingly. These neurons are spread out and are found in various body layers of the jellyfish. As we mentioned before, the jellyfish, the Ropalia, not the jellies, the Ropalia can detect light. Well, I guess that means the jellies can't. You all understand what I'm saying. Within the Ropalia, beside the eye spots, there are these statocytes that help jellyfish maintain their balance. Statocysts, actually, I think is how it's pronounced. Statocysts are made up of sand grains. When the jelly begins moving along, these sand grains press up against sensory neurons on the opposite side of the direction the jellies are moving in due to inertial resistance. This jelly uses the information to correct its course of movement essentially by reflex. So even if they don't have brains, they're still doing the damn thing. I thought that was so cool.
That is so neat.
With the little sand inside it, it's like, oh, oh.
I knew about the nerve gnat, but I didn't know about that. The like statuses that move with the that is really
Yeah.
neat. So then they can kind of like know which direction at least they're going.
Yeah, they can know which direction they're going. They're not just floating along all nimbly bimbly, prancing around from coral to coral.
It's so funny because people hate jellyfish because they think they're just like out there stinging everyone.
People
But they're
think
just
that
floating.
they're like out to get you when they literally cannot be out to get you. Like they cannot target you.
Yeah.
You're just in the wrong place at the wrong time for these little jellies. So until recently, I did think that jellyfish were like mindless, like most people, floating around with no purpose or direction. But, there is a but. Some experiments I read about while researching this topic now have me second guessing myself. And I wanted to second guess. I want my original assumption to be wrong. I do not like the thought of jellyfish living life unaware of anything. I don't know why it bugs me so much, but it does. So let's look at the Caribbean box jellyfish, Tripodalia cystophora. We mentioned its creepy eyeballs earlier. Speaking of creepy eyeballs, it makes me think like how angels are originally, like what angels are supposed to look like.
Just eyes.
Yes, just
Ooh.
eyes. That's what I picture this jellyfish as. Obviously, that's not. We know we have pictures of the box jellyfish. But my brain's just like, why have that many eyes? Why? Like some jellies don't have any eyes at all, and then you're just cruising around with like 24 of them or something. It doesn't sit right with me. So anyways, the Caribbean box jellyfish can look up, which I thought was interesting. They can look up at the water's surface to look for mangrove trees. In a second, we'll talk more about them in the mangrove.
Everybody shush! William Shatner has something to say.
Cat and Jethro, box of oddities.
What do you do when the woman you love dies? Well, of course, you dig her up and you live with her.
Aww.
The show examines weird things.
There are plenty of old photographs from this time period of children out in the streets playing in and among the dead horse carcasses.
Oh, I miss those days. Things used to be so much simpler.
Cat and Jethro.
Then there's the urine wheel, which sounds like a really bad game show.
Thing done weird things. Cat and Jethro, box of oddities. That is really mysterious.
Join Kat and Jethro Gilligan Toth for the strange, the bizarre, the unexpected as they lift the lid and cautiously peer inside the Box of Oddities.
The Webby Award-winning Box of Oddities podcast from Airwave Media.
Hello everyone, Takuya here.
And I'm Gabby.
And we are the hosts of History of Everything, a podcast which you can probably guess by the name is, well, I mean, it's about everything. Do you want to know why people thought potatoes were evil and would give you syphilis? Are you curious about all the stories of the terrible and stupid ways that people have kicked the bucket over the years? Do you want to hear tales about all of the different badasses of history and the lives that they had brought to life? Well, if so, then look no further. History of Everything is just the right podcast for you. It's available on Spotify, Pandora, and anywhere else that you get your podcast from. Join us for some fun and just see how weird and wacky history can be.
Mangrove trees. Some box jellies can also court a mate by grabbing onto the lady with its tentacles before doing the deed. I don't know if I would call that courting.
Yeah, that sounds like they're kidnapping the poor lady. But they're jellyfish. They don't have brains. They don't have brains.
They don't have brains, so they're not R wording on purpose.
It's just the only way for them to reproduce.
I know. But still, when I read that, I was like, courting? Like, does she have a choice? Does she have a choice? Anywho, this little jelly is also capable of associative learning. How? Well, it uses a combination of both visual and mechanical stimuli. This jelly has a nervous system, which we previously talked about, called the rhopalial nervous system. Sounds familiar. This information I'm about to dive into is from a scientific research article called Associative Learning in the Box Jellyfish, Tripedalia cystophora. End quote. For those who want to give it a goog. Associative learning, which is basically classical or operant conditioning, hasn't been associated with animals really other than bilaterians. Okay, so we have our vertebrates, fish, mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, or arthropods, certain bugs like a ladybug, crawfish, scorpions, butterflies, crabs, and then our mollusks, oysters, slugs, mussels, clams, etc. Bilaterians are a monophyletic clade of metazoans formed by animals with, at least primitively, bilateral symmetry defined by an anterior-posterior and a dorso-ventral axis. They have bilateral symmetry. So they have a downside or anterior side, a back front or posterior side, as well as an upside or dorsal side and a ventral side. Essentially, let's just focus on a left and a right side. The basic bilaterian body shape is a tube with a hollow gut cavity running from its mouth to its anus. Oh, dear Lord. Deuterostoma and protostoma. I'm having war flashbacks right now from zoology and freshwater invertebrates. I had a whole ass class about this stuff. I still have notes somewhere. Why is it the only thing that stuck with me is that deuterostome means it has an asshole?
Well, isn't it the butt forms first and then the mouth will form?
Yeah.
So technically, we're all assholes.
And we're deuterostomes. So after I had to do a quick Google search because I was like, does deuterostome mean you have two assholes? I was like, no, that don't sound right. So I Googled it. And it, like Gab said, it means that your asshole forms first. So deuterostomes means second mouth, so that they develop their asshole first and then their mouth later. Whereas protostomes, they develop the mouth first and their asshole develops later. And for those curious, humans are classified as deuterostomes. We do develop our assholes first. And I'm getting off topic. But I bet some of you didn't know that. We're all just a bunch of assholes at first. And some of you stay that way.
Oh.
Shots fired, soy boy. I'm just kidding.
Jesus.
I'm never going to let that go. I'm never going to financially recover from that. I'm just kidding. That's off of a movie. It's off of somewhere. If any of you remember what that line is from, stop what you're doing right now. Pause me. Send me a message on Instagram and tell me what it's from. I probably could literally just Google it and it would tell me what it's from. But I've been saying that constantly. And me and my coworkers, we know it's from something, but we don't remember what. That's neither here nor there. Bilaterians are symmetrical on both sides. You fold us in half and it matches. I don't even know. Like, we're supposed to be talking about a research paper right now. How did we get here?
Your fault.
My fault. I do this all the time, but I bet you learned something along the way. This wasn't mindless. Side. What is it called? Tangent. This wasn't a mindless tangent. This was a scientific tangent.
Educational.
So it fits, and it is the fault of the research paper, really. Because it talked about bilaterians, and then now we're here. Jellyfish aren't even bilaterians, though, so you all didn't even need to know that.
When I saw that, I wanted to throw my phone.
Sneaking in some knowledge. No, it was completely irrelevant. Jellyfish aren't bilaterians. They are Cnidaria. So I have no idea how we got here. Jellyfish actually have rotational symmetry or radial symmetry, which helps them to react to food, as well as to reach any potential threats from all directions by protecting them with their tentacles. If you listen to the episode on the Kraken, then you know all about tentacles versus arms versus cirri. And if you didn't listen, then I think it's a Patreon exclusive. So subscribe to our Patreon. It's literally the same cost as if you were to get one taco, maybe 2 soft shell tacos from Taco Bell once a month. And for that price, you can listen to me and Gab talk about stuff that other people don't get to hear us talk about, like the Kraken. Shameless plug. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. Oh, if you scroll just a little bit, you can see my picture where it says non-bilateria, and then it's got jellyfish. Humans are bilateria. You could slice me down the middle and fold me over, and I'd be pretty symmetrical. So in order to survive in the wild, you have to be able to modulate behaviors, or most likely you're going to die. Well, the box jellyfish knows how to use obstacle avoidance. So obstacle avoidance. It can also forage between roots in the mangroves. How does it do these things without a brain? The obstacle avoidance behavior, also called OAB, is what is known as a SSDR, or a species-specific defense reaction for the box jelly. This research used the OAB to show that the jellyfish can use operant conditioning. It can essentially learn from its quote-unquote mistakes to correct certain behaviors and avoid things in the future. I have a little image here that shows an example of operant conditioning that I took from this article. Pre-training, the jellyfish is just smacking its head up against a wall. Post-training, it senses the wall and it moves out of the way. So we already know that the box jellyfish has a dispersed central nervous system, and of course it lacks a conventional centralized brain. This scientific research study challenged the notion that associative learning requires complex neuronal circuitry. Their study also suggests that since the Cnidaria are the sister group to Bilateria, there is a possibility that advanced neural processes such as operant conditioning are a fundamental part of all nervous systems. A biologist at the University of Copenhagen named Anders Garm says about the research study performed that, quote, the hypothesis was they need to learn this. When they come back to these habitats, they have to learn. How is today's water quality? How is the contrast changing today? He says it is now confirmed the jellyfish are indeed capable of learning without a central nervous system. And they do this rather quickly, too, within minutes. The scientists try to recreate their natural environment in a laboratory setting. Researchers lined the inside of a small bucket with images of alternating vertical stripes. For one part of the experiment, the stripes were high contrast black and white to mimic mangrove roots in clear water. For another part of the experiment, the stripes were gray and white to resemble the mangrove roots in more murky water. The tanks were then filled and the jellyfish were placed in. The reactions were recorded for 7.5 minutes. In the bucket where there was clear contrast, the jellies were able to avoid colliding with the walls pretty easily. But in the bucket that had murky water conditions in it, the jellies did bump into the wall initially, but adapted their behavior quickly. Or they had learned to avoid running into the wall in less than 8 minutes. Their average collisions went from being 1.8 per minute to 0.78 per minute. Their average distance from the wall went from 1 inch to 1.4 inches. For their final quest, the jellies were put into a bucket that didn't have any stripes at all. A solid gray walled bucket. The jellies bumped into the wall repeatedly and did not adapt. Why is this? There wasn't a visual cue present for them to avoid, or to learn to avoid, perhaps, says Jan Bilecki, an electrophysiologist at Germany's Kiel University. She says that it was only when we had visual stimulation and mechanical stimulation that they would actually learn something. So they had to have both in order to learn something, which I thought was very interesting. Like they adapted, I don't know. They could adapt in the other two buckets. Well, one of them they didn't even have to adapt. They just knew. The other one, they adapted over a very short amount of time. But when they didn't see something to avoid, they didn't know to avoid it, which I guess makes sense. But
So see, they can survive, and basically, if you have survival instincts, you may not be self-aware, but you're doing the damn thing.
That's literally, they were made for the sole purpose of survive. That is it. Which, you know, most of us humans are just in fight or flight survival mode anyways.
So this is a spoiler for my patron exclusive that we're recording tomorrow, but mosquitoes, their olfactory system is so much different from the olfactory system of like most other organisms, and their entire sense of smell is literally just survive, find blood, reproduce. That is it. And it's so cool. I didn't even know that part.
So that's all their minds are doing 24/7 is find blood.
It's all their sense of smell does. It's like overpowering because instead of just like one receptor, one neuron, and then one glomeruli, that, you know, instead of all of that, you literally just have multiple receptors on one neuron. So one neuron can sense like a bunch of stuff. So specifically, they can smell out humans, like attractive humans, from just like knowing they're being bombarded constantly with these specific compounds that they need to identify a human.
I wonder if they can only smell like living blood. Is that a thing?
Well, you'll see tomorrow. It's not even the blood necessarily. It's just the things that indicate a human or like a living organism. You'll see tomorrow. It's so cool.
Do they have a type? We're going to find out. I'm excited. I'm ready to find out. But then like something dead, do they drink from something dead? I don't know.
We'll see.
I can't. Brenna will ask all these questions tomorrow and you will hear it a week from now.
Yep.
Dun, dun, dun. I'm excited. I'm very excited for that.
Serial killers, strange disappearances, unexplained mysteries, terrible disasters. I'm Nate Hale, and in my show, The Conspirators, I'm here to tell you all the stories from history your teacher never told you about. Hear the real story behind the Bermuda Triangle, or about the history of people drinking blood to stay young, or about the serial killer operating in Nazi-occupied Paris, or what dark secret lurked within the walls of a Scottish castle. In my show, The Conspirators, I take you on a journey through some of the darkest corners of history, where you'll hear about the folklore, myths, and misconceptions behind some of the darkest events that ever happened. Listen to The Conspirators on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, sometimes the truth really is stranger than fiction.
When Johann Rall received the letter on Christmas Day 1776, he put it away to read later. Maybe he thought it was a season's greeting and wanted to save it for the fireside. But what it actually was a warning, delivered to the Hessian colonel, letting him know that General George Washington was crossing the Delaware and would soon attack his forces. The next day, when Rall lost the Battle of Trenton and died from 2 colonial Boxing Day musket balls, the letter was found, unopened, in his vest pocket. As someone with 15,000 unread emails in his inbox, I feel like there's a lesson there. Oh well, this is The Constant, a history of getting things wrong. I'm Mark Chrysler. Every episode, we look at the bad ideas, mistakes, and accidents that misshaped our world. Find us at constantpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Okay, so for the next test the researchers performed, they wanted to test how the vision of jellies might play into navigation, looking at the Ropalia. To do this experiment, the researchers removed the Ropalia from the jellyfish and put it into a dish. And I'm going to pause there because what the fuck did I just say? Removed the Ropalia. Okay, so I know that jellies don't feel pain in the sense that humans do, but something about that just still doesn't sit right with me. And I know we have to do things in the name of science to learn, but I don't know. Let's just cut out some of their shit and put it here. Anyways, unpause. The researchers gave a small electrical pulse to the cells to replicate the jellyfish bumping into mangrove root, while exposing them to the striped images. After about 5 minutes or so, the cells made a connection between the two occurrences, and started to send signals to make jellyfish swim in the opposite direction, or signals that would make jellyfish swim in the opposite direction. This would essentially mean that the ropalia are where the learning of jellies happen. It is our learning system. One might even call the ropalia the brain, and that jellies do have some sort of short-term memory to an extent, because they learn from what they've done. Oh, and I also forgot to mention that jellyfish don't have blood, so that's why a heart would be unnecessary since hearts pump, blood throughout the body. And jellyfish also breathe through their skin, quote unquote, breathe through their skin because it's so thin that it allows them to absorb oxygen from the environment that they're in, whatever environment that may be. Notice I said whatever environment that may be, because while researching jellies, I read something that said that over 2,000 jellyfish polyps were sent to space in 1991 as an experiment to see how they can function without gravity.
Why were they so obsessed with sending animals into space back in the
I didn't even know that we sent jellies to space. I had no idea. And I read that and I was like, no, that's not true. So then I started researching that in itself. And I was like, what the fuck? So they wanted to test how they can function without gravity. They sent them in flasks and bags filled with artificial seawater. Chemicals were injected into the bags to induce reproduction. I want to know what these chemicals are. Apparently, these little guys not only survived, but they thrived, reproducing over 55,000 polyps. But when they returned to Earth, they did not exactly survive or thrive. Well, they survived. They did not thrive. They did not thrive at all. They could no longer function properly and were experiencing some pretty extreme vertigo, which is sad. So they did adapt in space, but then you take them back out of that environment and it wasn't good. I wonder if over time they came to.
Remember the dolphin episode where they were trying to make sure they can you remember? And then the dolphins died because how are you going to make it unconscious, bring it back and expect it to not have brain damage? Messy.
I try to forget the dolphin episode every day of my life.
I think about it often because what the heck was that
episode? I hated it.
I'm learning so much from this because I love animal episodes. And I feel like we both did animal episodes.
We love to learn. Anyways, I feel like all of us as a collective. No, I'm just kidding. I feel like I now have a better understanding of why jellyfish don't need a brain for survival or a heart for that matter. So let's go over, some other animals that don't have a brain. And we're just going to briefly do a little love tap, honorable mention on these since we don't have time to deep dive like we did with our friends, the jellies. Okay. Sea cucumbers. Sea cucumbers don't have brains. This didn't shock me at all. Looking at a sea cucumber, it makes you think that don't have a fucking brain.
It kind of looks like poop. You wouldn't even know it's really alive.
No, it's not even a thing. But aren't they very expensive? Worth thousands of dollars, or am I making that up?
I've never attempted to purchase a sea cucumber.
No, I feel like it's a black market type shit. You're swimming at the ocean, you see a sea cucumber, you tuck it in your pocket, you sell it for 10 grand. I could be wrong. This is one of those things that some mean people are going to comment and be like, you fucking donkey.
You could get a sea cucumber American wild caught at Walmart for $110.
What am I talking about?
Not just one. You get a bunch of them.
Okay, then I'm obviously not correct. There is some type of something at the bottom of the ocean that is a lot of money.
It can cost it can cost up to $3,500 a kilo, according to Business Insider. So I guess it just depends on the quality of your sea cucumber.
I still feel like I'm thinking about something else. Yeah, so sea cucumbers. What about sea cucumbers? They have an oral cavity that is surrounded by neural tissue. Bet you didn't know that. This neural tissue sends signals to its mouth and tentacles to move along the seafloor and look for food. It sucks up mud and sand while scavenging because it eats algae and decomposing stuff. So they sift through the muck and expel it out, only keeping the food. I don't think they would need brains. Their life is so minimal, not to downgrade it. I'm not meaning to downgrade it. But you're just a little sea cucumber. You're just plopped on the ground, sucking up dirt and spitting it back out. Next animal on our list is earthworms. Earthworms don't have brains. No surprise to me there either, because I dove way too far into worm facts when I was doing my worm grunting research. Another shameless plug. If you haven't listened to worm grunting episode, you should. I don't remember if it was Patreon or not. Was that a regular or Patreon, Gab?
Regular.
Oh, good for y'all. Good for y'all. Go give it a listen. It was informative. It was weird, but it was informative. I do love worms. Their entire bodies act as one large nerve. They can regenerate their tails, which is crazy. And a lot of animals found in the ocean don't have brains. I did figure that out while doing this. I don't want it, not the majority, but a shit ton. The majority of animals that don't have brains, you're going to find them in the ocean. For example, oysters, sea anemones, sea squirts, clams, coral, sea lilies, sea sponges, starfish, sea urchins, jellies. Like what's that one little guy? Portuguese man o' war?
Yeah.
That guy? He's a jelly.
The deadly one?
Yeah, I put a picture of him here just because what the fuck?
Yeah, sometimes they wash up on the shores in Trinidad and then they have to close the beaches. Very sad, very sad.
That is sad, but that means that if they wash up on shore, then they're swimming in the water. I thought the box jelly was what's it called? Poisonous or venomous? Poisonous is when you bite it and you die. Yeah. Venomous is when it bites you, or I guess stings you. Toxic, I don't know. I thought that the Caribbean box jellyfish is a bad one. It's not. It's the Australian box jellyfish that'll like really fuck you up. Not that you guys ask. And I actually found some controversy over some of the animals I mentioned. Oysters. Do oysters feel pain? So a recent study that focused on the nervous system development in Pacific oysters states that oysters can feel pain because of their sensory cells. And that makes me so sad.
But they have no brain, but they can, that's depressing.
Yeah, it made me sad when I read that. And in that same article, it mentioned how mussels feel pain if they are cooked alive. I could have lived without knowing that. The more you guys know, I don't eat oysters or mussels. That's just because I don't like their slimy texture. But it gets me. I wish I did. It looks like a fun thing to do, I guess, to slurp it down. I don't know. It reminds me of snot, and I'm not here for it. And I don't know. Are you supposed to just take it like a shot? Are you supposed to like chew? I will fucking throw up.
I've seen people like take it like a shot, but then chew. And the thought of it makes me a little bit not okay.
And I imagine it tastes very fishy, like the sea. Like I love crab legs. I could eat so much crab legs. But lobster is like a tad bit too fishy for Bren. So I imagine oysters and mussels.
I like fish. I just don't like the gooey texture of the shell, like the oysters and mussel type stuff. And
it looks
I don't know.
Like snot. Dead ass looks like snot.
Like if I were on a deserted island and I just needed,
I would hold my nose and take it like a shot. That's how I used to take shots when I drank alcohol. It's just a hold of the nose and you don't breathe until you've swallowed it. Kentucky has a lot of mussels. Did you?
Yeah.
You know that.
I had to memorize all of the freshwater mussels in the state.
Girl, I did too. Emblema plicata, come on, pretty mama. That's how I remembered one of them. Oh, I'm going to share something inappropriate with you all. Another way that I remembered Actinonaeus ligamentina. Which one is that one? Which one is that
I don't
one?
remember the common name, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
So the only way that Brenna could remember that is actin on ass, licking on Tina.
That makes sense. I just made flashcards.
Well, I still have my flashcards and I have my little book because I don't know why. I feel like it's a nifty thing to have the mussels memorized of Kentucky. I don't know why.
You never know when you're gonna need a little mussel.
A little emblema plicata.
Also, if anybody's hiring for any jobs that require muscle identification, hire Brenna. She should be working with animals and being happy. Thank you.
Acting on ass, licking on Tina.
Not like that, though. This is a job interview. Wait, no, it's a podcast.
It could be both. If you or a loved one is experiencing and you need to hire someone who knows freshwater mussels, give me a call at bleep. I was good pretending like I said it and bleeped it out. No, you can message me on Instagram, though, if you would, like, want to hire me or you want pictures of my feet or, like, anything like
Oh, my God. You're never going to get a job.
Guys, no one wants pictures of my feet. It's starting to go to my head a little bit. I have the prettiest toes. Pay me.
Oh, my God.
I won't do anything weird. I will. I'll wear socks.
On that note,
I'll send them to you.
On that note, I'm going to cut her off. Bye, guys.
Sorry.
I love
Bye,
you.
guys. Don't let your meatloaf.